listening to the Twin Theory Podcast, Season 2,
Episode 6. All right, we are back with Episode 6.
Yep, Episode 6 of the Twin Series.
Yep, and so, so far this Twin Series has been going pretty good.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
We've had a lot of guests. You
Absolutely.
pretty much, met all of our family, immediate family, mother, father, brother. So definitely hope you've been able to get some great insight, just kind of sneak peek in the lives of twins and their families and that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
So this month we kind of wanted to turn it back to a little more of a serious topic. I think all the topics are serious, but this one is a really, let's just say it's a close topic to us, sort of.
Yes, it's more so something that I don't think people readily think of when they think of twins. So a lot of people think about twins, being a cool thing, if you will. But a lot of people don't quite think about some of the struggles unique to twins.
Yeah,
so.
and definitely, for us in our perspective, it's identical twins.
Right, identical twins.
So did you want to, kind of lead us in, Marissa, into a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today?
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about identity as well as separation. So, Court, since you're about to head off for almost a year now, I figured it might be appropriate to talk about separation and kind of our experience whenever we've had to separate as twins, but also as well identity and kind of our journey through figuring out who we were as individuals as well as a unit.
Okay. So that's a good, thank you, definitely for the background as we've mentioned. I think in prior episodes, we're identical twins. So we lived together for the first 18 years of our lives until we spread off and went to college. And the first 14 of those 18 years, we stayed in the same room, shared the same bed, everything. It was just kind of like same closets, like everything.
Well, we didn't share the same bed until middle school. We did have bunk beds in elementary.
We did. Well,
so
that's the same bed.
Yeah, I'm gonna live beside you.
Okay,
Shoot.
all right.
Okay.
We didn't have two different beds. We had bunk beds. That's the same
But
bed.
at least I had my own space.
All right. Well, we had bunk beds, and
Okay.
then when we got into middle school, everyone
had to share the
we
same
shared
bed.
the same
It was a
queen
different
size
experience.
bed. It was totally different. But okay, so definitely now that y'all have that little background on us, and I'm pretty sure most identical twins probably grow up and they live together,
Right.
for the first 18 years at least, and some even go off to college together and they're
Right.
roommates, and boy, that's even more time.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely for you, so the first question I have, would you say you ever had any identity issues as it relates to determining who you are versus kind of like who we are as twins?
So I would say that growing up, since we did do a lot together, whenever we were, say, in different classes or summer camp or something like that, and we were broken out into different groups, I did kind of struggle, if you will, to get out there and do things because I was so used to doing things with you. I didn't really know how to do it on my own, if you will. So I did, to a degree, kind of identify as us. And even growing up, I think about, interviews, and when people ask me something interesting about myself, I always start off with, I'm a twin, because of course that's the obvious piece, but I think that it's a part of my identity that's really been driven since we were born. So it's the first ready thing you can say and go to. And sometimes, at least when I was younger, I kind of struggled then when, after saying I was a twin, articulating the unique things about myself.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. Of course, as mentioned by our parents, we're two very different people.
Yes.
And growing up, I think I was definitely the opposite of you. I was more of the out there type of twin, if you will. And
Now, hold on, you're still the out there type of twin. Growing up, you still the out there.
Whatever. Anyway, I was the out there type of twin. So I didn't have really a problem when it came to, meeting people and experiencing things. But I didn't realize how much I really valued you being there. Like I didn't realize I really had some identity issues until I went off to college and we were actually separate.
Mm-hmm.
Because, it's not really that I needed you, to be there for me to meet friends. It's really weird. It's like I knew you were there and I
Right.
didn't need you to meet the friends, but I needed you there. It's really
Right.
hard to describe. Really hard to articulate that. I know people at home scratching their head like, did you need it or not? Like I'm trying to figure out. But
Right.
but I did because for me, the first time I figured out, man, I really don't know who I am is when I went to college and everything was just me, Courtney, singular.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knew that I had a twin. It wasn't, hi, my name is Courtney and I have a twin written on my shirt.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody knew that. They start to ask me questions about me and I realized I didn't know the half.
Right.
I didn't have a lot of those things figured out that a lot of people had figured out by 18. And I just didn't know, it felt different trying to make friends and you weren't there.
Right.
Not that you ever assisted me in making any friends, but it
Right.
was just weird. It felt like something was missing. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if it's because, we used to talk all the time and we used to talk about everything all the
Everything.
time. So it seemed like something was missing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So definitely that's the first time I felt like, oh gosh, I do not have this thing figured out.
Which kind of segued into the next question, which was, when did you first start to figure out who you are apart from being a twin? So you kind of talked a little bit about college, and I know that was a huge pinnacle piece for me. Like being around family, of course, family can point out the differences. They can point out the likeness between us, but also, as they get to know us, they know, oh, no, Courtney did that for sure.
Yeah.
Or, no, that's probably something Marissa did. So we kind of developed an identity based on that and our interactions there. But there was still a large part of even within family and outside of family, just, going to church or going to different events where people still clumped us together as one. So when would you say you first start to figure out who you were apart from being a twin? That was college?
Yeah, definitely college, and it's interesting, something that you mentioned, and it's been mentioned, definitely, our father mentioned it earlier, was that he was able to tell our two different personalities as babies.
Mm-hmm.
But and there are a lot of people that were very close to us, our mother, our brother, people that were able to tell the difference and say, nope, this is who Courtney is and this is who Marissa is. But it's interesting because I didn't know who I was
Right.
until a lot later.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of some other people that were close to us could tell us apart, and maybe it was easier for them because that's the only way they could tell us apart. They
Right.
had to figure out
What
what
the
those differences were,
right.
But I didn't need to have, I didn't have any reason for trying to tell me apart from you. I knew,
Mm-hmm.
like I wasn't you, but at the same time, it wasn't apparent to me until I was in college, but it was actually more towards the latter end of college where I actually started to see some of my identity and who I
Mm-hmm.
was. But I had really, I think I totally saw and embraced it. It was after college. It was actually very well after college and me starting to work on my own and be, placed in different situations and have to overcome things as an adult and that sort of thing, where I actually learned, oh, okay, Courtney, this is who you are.
Right.
It was into adulthood.
Okay. I think I would say it didn't quite go that far. So I think college is kind of the prime point, right? The
Mm-hmm.
peak, if you will. So freshman year was, out of all the years, a bit of a struggle, just in general, adjusting to you not being there, but also me kind of figuring out, all right, it's just me now. So let me figure out what this is. Um, it was kind of exciting. I'm not going to lie. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
was kind of exciting establishing my own friends, because I would say growing up, like, we had our friends,
Yep.
but when we went to college, we established our own set of friends,
Mm-hmm.
because of course we went to two separate schools. So it was kind of nice to do that. Um it was also kind of nice because I didn't readily give away that I was a twin. So there's probably people, well, unless they follow me on social media to this day, that don't know I have an
Exactly.
identical twin. So it was kind of cool. It's like I could take on another personality. I don't know.
You had like this little
You're
secret
right.
that
It was
you
a little
didn't
secret. Like, okay, these people know I have a double, but these people don't.
have
So
no
you're
idea.
right. It was kind of cool. But I would say definitely college is where it was at peak point where I started to shift over to really figuring out who I was apart from being a twin or
Being a
being
twin.
your twin.
Yeah, definitely. And it was a little later than that. I think maybe I was just very busy in college. I think that was my first coping mechanism, was to keep myself very busy. And so
Hmm.
I didn't really pay attention to myself as much when it came to identity, probably because I was keeping myself so busy. And then after college, I think those first few years I wasn't as busy, and it was like, ooh, ha, this is different. This
Right.
is very, very, it's been different, but this is very, very different
Different.
now.
Okay.
So, yeah, um so we talk about, being, so let me back up. So we talked about finding this identity,
Hmm.
trying to figure out who we are, And I think a lot of that, like you said, stem from, potential, some family
Hmm.
or, friends or people just having this thought that because you're identical twins, you have the same identity. You like the same things.
Hmm.
When it came to, Christmas time and we got gifts, it was like, all right, Marissa, wait, who did you get that gift from? Wait, don't open your gift from such and such until I open mine, because we most likely had the same
Same thing.
thing. Or we had the same thing and it was two different colors. You got it in
Right.
pink, I got it in purple or something like that. So it was really, yeah, it was a little difficult, and definitely growing up, trying to be able to figure out who we were as individuals.
Hmm.
And so then I feel like that led, to the separation anxiety and the
Hmm.
the issues that we had with separation. That, definitely leads me to this next question. And I'm thinking, like, did you ever get worried when you found out we would have to separate? Like growing up, we talked about being kids and being in separate classes, and they put us in the same class, in separate
Hmm.
classes, in same class. And I know there's times where we were in summer camp, or there were times where we did have to separate temporarily because we
Hmm.
lived together in the same room and everything, but we had to separate and then maybe come back later on that day at home or when mom picked us up or whatever. But did you ever worry or have any issues when we had to separate?
I think the only time I worried was if it was ever like a class or an activity that had to be done and we were separated, because I knew if we were together, I would always have you as my partner. So it was kind of like a safety net because I knew I wouldn't have to go out by myself. You was always there. So I think that's the only time I got worried, which I would definitely say it's not the best thing, because I think when you're developing and you're learning, you do need to learn how to do things on your own and be able to do a project or an activity and do it on your own and not have to use another person kind of as a crutch or a safety. So that was something that I did worry about. I don't know if it's specific to my personality because I'm a bit more of a quiet personality or an introverted personality, but I do know that I did get worried. Like if we're a summer camp and we're going to break everybody out and do an activity and they put you on a different team and I'm like, oh no, now there's my partner. Now I got to find somebody. So, but which is not the healthiest thing, but that, yeah, I did get concerned.
You say that and it is triggering. It's interesting because even though you were more of the introvert than I was, I'm not an extrovert, but I'm in that ambivert
Right.
area. um but you saying that still, is triggering. I still kind of get those feelings because I felt the same things when we were in summer camp or school or whatever. We got our schedules for the school year and found out we had two separate teachers. It was like daunting.
Mm-hmm.
It was like I felt like my heart dropped. Like I just was like, oh my goodness, I have to be in this class without my sister.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think that goes a lot into us growing up and being together
All
all
the
the time.
time.
Being together all the time, we learned a lot of things together.
Together. Mm-hmm.
And so, when we got to a space space where we weren't together, there was definitely separation anxiety. You know, oh gosh, you have to break off and go to your class, or you have to go to whatever. And you know, I even feel like it has something to do with like learning capabilities,
Mm-hmm.
because it was always the thought of like, I'm in here by myself.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm in here by myself. And so I do think that we did so much better when we were in class together, because it was just something that we were used to. Should we have, now that I'm older? No, they probably should have broken us up from the beginning and kept us apart.
Right.
You
So
know,
we
so
can
we
learn
could
how to.
learn how to, you know, be on our own and do things on our own. But definitely that separation anxiety was there. Definitely I missed you.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you knew that because we knew each other's lunch schedule. Oh, definitely. We had lunch together. Even if we passed each other in the hallway, it was like, yes,
Right.
Marissa.
Instant like
A
connection.
connection. It was like, you know, if I went in the bathroom and Marissa was in the bathroom, it was like,
party.
hi,
You're right.
you're in the bathroom.
Right.
You know, like it was just, it was very, it's interesting now that we're older. And, you know, I'm talking and I still feel like kind of anxiety internally, because I remember how I felt when it was like, oh, we have to separate.
Right.
We have to leave each other. The first time I ever really, really was hurt by our separation is when you went home after our it was after our sophomore year in high school, and you went to spend the summer with our grandparents.
Oh, to run track.
Yeah, to run track on the AAU team, and I stayed in Alabama, and my parents will tell you, I cried in the airport.
Oh.
And you know, like as soon as you left to go in the airplane, I cried in the airport, and it was like, you know, my world was crashing because you were leaving for, you know, a few months to go to spend with our grandparents. But it was a serious thing, you know, whenever we separated. So I'm happy that we've gotten to a place where it's much better now.
Right.
It still hurts, you know, it still hurts. It still takes a few days to kind of like, you know, adjust, but it's not nearly as bad as it used to be.
Right.
So, yeah.
I mean, you kind of dove into the next question, which was, did you ever have any attachment issues when we were apart? And so you kind of talked about it. And I guess the follow-up is, how did you deal with it, if at all? Because I know for me, I don't really know if I dealt with it well. I just kind of, it took a while, and then I just accepted it. But I don't know if I really did anything to deal with it.
Well, for me, it wasn't really a dealing with it. It was just more so I wanted to be left alone. Mm-hmm. You know, I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to experience anything.
The irony.
Yeah.
Now you want to be alone.
No, I do. Right. Like she go, what? No, but really, I didn't want to experience anything. So I would not have taken oh, you want to go to the park? Nah, I'm good. Mm-hmm. You know, you sure you don't want to go to the amusement park? Nope. You want to go swimming? Nope. I didn't want to do anything, any activity that you weren't going to be there. I would just rather be alone in my room, and that was my coping mechanism. It was just, let me just be alone as much as possible so I don't have to deal with anyone. I can just kind of be by myself until she returns. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that was healthy, but I mean, at the same time, that was how I dealt with it, because what I wasn't going to do is go out into the world and try to meet people on my own.
Right.
You know, not at that time. Oh, I wasn't ready. I had never done that before. Right. Oh, I would never. You want to go to the summer camp? No way. I don't want to go by myself. You know, like it was very, oh, what? Like, no, I've never done that before. Oh, no, I'll just stay at home. Like, and, you know, I'm pretty sure there's many times mom and dad might have scratched their head like,
you don't want to go?
You want to go? Like, it was weird. Like, I would go, you know, if mom or dad or VJ or somebody was going to go with me.
Right.
But definitely I didn't want to experience anything by myself.
Understood.
So, I mean, I'm sure, I'm guessing you probably had some of the same.
Pretty much. It was the same. Yeah.
So now, you know, we talk about us separating and, you know, how we felt internally. Mm-hmm. But it makes me think that maybe, you know, again, I said I cried in the airport that time when you had to leave. But it makes me think that maybe there were some external things or things that we showed, you know. And the reason why I say that is because there's a lot of times whenever we separate or we have to go, there's always people, and definitely family, that I feel like get worried, when we have to separate. Like if we have to when we had to go to college, I feel like there were family members that were a little worried
And
that we were
friends
going,
and community folks and
yeah, oh
everybody.
yeah,
Like,
friends and people who know us well that were like, oh, so you and Marissa are going to two different places.
yeah.
Like, oh, so y'all are going living in two different areas. Oh, so y'all are, and then the vice versa happens if we're reunited and we come
Right.
back together. Oh, I just feel so much better. I sleep
That
better at
y'all are
nighttime
together,
that y'all
right.
are together. So it makes me feel like, like, why do you think that people, definitely, our family members or, close friends and stuff that know us, why do you think they got so worried when we separated?
I mean, I do think we are our better selves when we're together. Not that we aren't awesome apart, because I think we're pretty fantastic apart. But I do think we do make a pretty good unit, if you will. So that's one. I think that at least when we were younger, when we were together, we were more encouraged to do more things. So, like you were saying, you rather isolate when I'm gone. So, I think that's something they may have picked up on. So, they preferred that I be there, or we do things together, because they know we were more inclined to doing things when we were together. Now, on the flip side, I think that maybe not indirectly, but some of the concern that people had about us separating may have actually caused us to get concerned to separate. And it might not have, not been a ready, fast thing. Oh, goodness, this person said we shouldn't separate, so now I'm worried that we are. But it could have been like a psychological thing that we didn't quite identify, or we couldn't quite put our finger on, but we might have got worried when we were separated because other people were worried about us separating. So
Yeah.
I think it's two-sided.
Yeah, I definitely think, there were a few things that, again, we probably didn't realize, but there were things that people around us probably saw and might have worried them a little bit, as well as the fact that they were probably used to seeing us both together.
Right,
and,
right.
when you're used to seeing two people together all the time, when you don't see them together, you worry, So I definitely, I do think a lot of the things that, you said are definitely true. And so the last thing that, I think that would be great for us to discuss, is how we think that this affects identical twins over time. It's a topic that is rarely discussed. It's very interesting because I have not heard very many people talk about this.
Right.
And, I would say it's somewhat controversial to an extent. It's somewhat controversial because you have some people that just will fight us all day and say, nope, twins are supposed to be together.
Right.
Identical twin. I'm sure there are twin studies out there,
Right.
doctors and everybody that will tell you twins are just supposed to be together. And the thing is, like, I do think that these types of things have a major issue, like they create a major issue over time. Now that I'm older and we have had times where we separated enough. Again, college, we were separate for a lot of years, and then graduating college, and you went back to Alabama and I was here, and now we've been together for quite a few years, but we have had been able to deal we've been able to deal with that separation. But I worry sometimes when I know identical twins, or when I meet identical twins that have never had that moment of separation. They've never ever been separate. It's like I worry sometimes because it's like, well, what happened? Two things. One, do you know who you are?
Right.
Like, have you had the chance to be able to to understand who you are and find your identity
outside of being an identical twin.
Outside of being identical twins, and what is going to happen if you ever did have to separate, for your twin, for a few weeks, or Lord forbid, a few years or so. What would happen? How does that separation anxiety ultimately affect you? We hear of things even about twins that are older, and one twin passed away and the other twin passed away, a few weeks later, or very close in proximity. And I wonder if it's because of like that separation anxiety that they have, that that twin is no longer there. They've never really been able to master being by themselves.
Right. So I think you said a lot, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of going back to the question about how this could affect identical twins over time, I mean, honestly, I think you covered it. I honestly think twins, if they've been together their entire lives and fully until like mature adulthood, then I think it just makes it even more difficult for them to separate. I mean, I know we separated in college, which was probably the best thing we have ever done.
Yeah. Didn't
Which
know it, but
at the
yes.
time we didn't realize it. We were just interested in two different colleges, two different things, but was probably the best decision we could have ever made. And I do wonder, if we went to the same school, we probably would end up staying together after we came out of school. And with time going into mature adulthood, honestly, I don't know what that looks like. So, I can't say that we would have really, gathered who we were as individuals if we did that. So, because I'm pretty sure we would have went to college together, established our friends, instead of a separate set of friends,
Yeah.
our friends, the things that we do. And yeah, I think it would have been difficult just to articulate who we were as individuals. So I think that's a kind of hard to answer, but yeah, I mean, I think it just would continue over time if twins don't. So I think when you're younger, it does affect identity development, and as you get older, it just becomes something even more difficult to do. So now that we're 30, about to be 31, if we had never separated our entire lives,
oh my God,
like
that'd have been detrimental to
you
our...
know what I'm saying? Like that just at this point in life,
it's like it's way harder the older you get.
Exactly.
I definitely, it was hard going to college and being separate. And I think for the first few weeks in college, we called each other all the time. Like,
Right.
how's it going down there? How
right,
are you?
right.
Ah.
But then, by year 2, I might hit you up every couple of months,
Yeah. And then after that, we
'cause-
got to we got okay.
Yeah, it
we
became
we
okay.
either figured out how to cope with it, which again, me, it was more so of let me keep myself as busy as possible, but we figured out how to cope with it until we could get to a point where we actually were able to deal with it. So
Yeah.
I think that, definitely this is a good topic. I think it's something that, parents that have multiples, parents that have identical twins, or just those that are identical twins or multiples in general, it's something to sit down and really ponder. Do you know who you are? Have you figured out your identity? Identity is something that a lot of people, twins or not, I feel like struggle with.
Right.
But definitely I feel like there's even more, struggles when you're an identical twin or you're
Right.
identical multiple, you have a triplet or whatever,
Right.
like it becomes a lot more difficult in figuring out who you are, what you like, what you want to do. And, I can't say that I'm at 100% right now.
Right. I'll still fumble over some questions if somebody asks me.
Yeah, right now, there's some things about myself, people ask me, I still have to have to take a few days and figure it out.
Write it out in the notebook.
Yeah, but I am way better than I was. I'm slowly getting there. And like you said, we're about to be separate here for a year. So, I know it's going to take a little getting used to us being gone.
Bye.
I'll be fine too.
I'll be fine.
Well, I'll be okay. But, I know the first day or two would be like, oh, okay.
Right. Moment of silence for a little bit.
Okay. But anyway, definitely thank you all for tuning into this episode. Definitely interested on your feedback here.
Absolutely.
Because again, there's a lot of people that kind of sit on both sides of the table when it comes to this, how they feel about twins and if they should be together or not or whatnot. So definitely interested to your feedback on this one. As always, you can tune in. You can follow us on Instagram, Twin Theory Podcasters, or you can send us an email, twintheorypodcasters@gmail.com. You can follow us on YouTube, Twin Theory Podcast, and definitely check out any of the major podcasting platforms for our new episodes. So definitely, I think this is a great episode. I think it's also great because it's a Mental Health Awareness Month.
Absolutely.
And so definitely this is a great topic to talk about, and we will see you guys later. We are steadily getting into the summer. So definitely, you guys be safe out there. Get vaccinated.
Yep.
The CDC says you don't have to wear a mask, but I'll be wearing my mask.
I'm wearing my mask.
I'm wearing my mask too. But anyway, I will let you guys go. Talk to you next month.
See ya.